I don't think there's any rush. Hey everybody, Luxinda Swirl here. New day, new tumbler project. So a while back I did a video in which I took some Aqua Cast and I mixed it up and I applied it to a tumbler. And then just to see what would happen, I sprinkled Brusho crystals onto it and hit them with a little extra water to get them to burst into life like they do. When that dried, I put some resin on it with some 504 glitter in it for the extra sparkle, and that's how we ended up with this tumbler. However, before I started this tumbler, I showed everybody that I had successfully gotten Aqua Cast to stick to a tumbler. This was a test cup I did the very first time I tried it. And I showed this one just to show that, you know, it would work, at least to an extent. A lot of people said, well, show us how to make this one, because I mean, it's pretty. It looks like, I think I said at the time, maybe like the I don't know, the surface of some faraway planet or something like that. It's cool looking. So I was going to try today to recreate this one. It also uses Brusho crystals. In fact, it starts with Brusho. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to try and make a cup that looks something like this. I'm sure it won't be exactly the same, but that's what we're shooting for. So what I did to get this effect on this tumbler was I actually used this a long time ago when I was trying to create a Brusho tumbler. When I first started playing around with Brusho crystals and I wanted to use them somehow on a tumbler, even though they're activated by water, and water of course drips. I did a number of experiments. I will link to some of those videos if you haven't seen them. They're interesting. I produced some what I think are gorgeous tumblers in the end. It was an adventure, but one of the things I started to try and then I abandoned it was to take a white tumbler, cover it with Aleene's tack it over and over, and then sprinkle Brusho crystals onto it. And that's when I thought, you know, this isn't going to work any better than any of the other methods I tried. So I ended up with a tumbler that had Brusho crystals stuck to it, and I stuck it on a shelf and I abandoned it for probably more than a year before I decided to grab it and see what would happen with Aqua Cast. I told you all that to tell you how we're going to recreate it. We are going to put Aleene's tack it over and over on this tumbler and stick some Brusho crystals on it. I just want it to glide on pretty smoothly, and adding some water seems to help with that. I'm going to take my glue brush. It's a fluffy brush that has gotten really, no matter how well I wash it, is all sticky now. I'm just going to paint on probably not even 2 layers. Okay, put that aside, let it dry. We'll come back and put some Brusho crystals on it. All right, we're back. This is dried, so it's tacky now. I've got my Brusho crystals here. It doesn't look like I was doing a rainbow. It looks like I was just doing random colors, but I think I've got magenta, violet, sea green, emerald green, which are close, and then turquoise for our blue. Again, this won't be an exact recreation. I'm just gonna turn the turner on and sprinkle on some crystals. Put these away, and I'm going to let this sit for a while. I don't know why, but you know, it sat on my shelf for like months before I grabbed it and put the Aqua Cast on and got this. So I don't think there's any rush. So I'm going to let this sit for a while, and then we'll come back, we'll mix up some Aqua Cast, and we'll see what we get. So it's time to get some Aqua Cast mixed up. This has been sitting for a couple of days now, so I think it's going to be as settled on the cup as it's going to be. I'm not going to do any specific measurements. I'm not going to weigh it or anything. I'm just going to eyeball it based on the consistency I'm looking for when I want to slop it on here. I decided to use my new cuppinator because I really want this to go slowly. And it says the lowest speed is 4 RPM, so I could use any of my slow turners actually, but I'm going to try this one out because I like it. Have some distilled water. You can use regular tap water with Aqua Cast. That's the cool thing about it. It really isn't very fussy stuff. Look, there's a Brusho crystal in there already. I tell you, that stuff gets everywhere. Not that there's anything wrong with that. All right, let's see what happens. Okay. I'm just gonna leave it to turn. We'll be back when it dries. And we're back. Okay, so this was the cup I was going for, and here's what we ended up with. I thought initially, when it was on the tumbler and everything was still wet, I thought it was like way out of the ballpark. But now that it's dried, I got sort of kind of the same feel that I was going for. This is a little brighter. This is a little duller. But otherwise, I'm very pleased with how this looks. Better than I thought it was going to. It is absolutely lumpy and textured. I don't mind that at all. I think that's fabulous. Very much like this one, I had problems with getting some on the bottom and therefore it wouldn't stand up straight. It would wobble. So I already sanded this one down and as you can tell, I got a little carried away there. So I'll try not to do that with this one, but we are going to clean this one up. When I sand to get a surface level, usually the bottom of a tumbler, I just hold on to the sandpaper and I draw this across it. And that, as long as I'm working on a flat surface, that flattens out everything that I was just sanding. So let's do that on the bottom here too. It doesn't wobble, it's steady, it's flat on the bottom. So I'm going to stop there. For those of you who are wondering, this is 80 grit sandpaper, but honestly, for this sort of thing, any fine grit will do, 80 on up. I'm going to put resin on both of these now. I think these are both beautiful. I love them. Let's put some resin and some sparkle. We'll use Press Street Station Junior, which is an ultrafine opalescent, and we'll see how they turn out.